James Madison makes some school history. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by the College Football Playoffs. College Football Playoffs are here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. College Football Playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. We will get to JMU historic victory over Western Kentucky in the Boca Bowl here in a moment. We'll also preview the New Orleans Bowl, which is tonight, Georgia Southern versus Sam Houston State. And as we talked about Cajuns basketball last night, they got up on App State 23-5 in the first half, and it's ongoing. I don't know if they'll finish by the time we're done here, but we will update it here at the end of the podcast. All right. So JMU taking on Western Kentucky. We previewed it in yesterday's episode, and I continue to find out more listening to the radio broadcast a little bit. Billy Adkins, not the backup quarterback, the third string quarterback, and J.C. Evans further down on the list than that, more of your Wildcat quarterback, although he did a little bit more than that in the ballgame. So they were hurting, so to speak, at the quarterback position, and it took a little bit of time to get going. And when you don't have necessarily the threat to pass the football, at least in the beginning, Western Kentucky, despite not being able to stop the run a little bit, is going to gamble and not play a base defense. They're going to dare you to throw the football, right? They're going to get in your face and have more guys in the box than they usually would because you're just not going to throw it down the field. And they led at half 14-7. JMU actually got on top 7-0. A couple of missed field goals. That was a 56-yarder, the one that was blocked. Missed one earlier than that. And Western Kentucky does take a 14-7 lead into the half. However, then JMU comes out in the second half and gets it going. And as Billy Adkins started the game, we got J.C. Evans into the game on the first possession of the second half for JMU. I don't think they quite got a 3-and-out. Let me see if they did. Third quarter, they did. They got a 3-and-out, actually. My mistake. They got a 3-and-out, and then they drove down, and they're basically switching quarterbacks depending on the play, and maybe Billy Adkins came in. I thought maybe on a passing play, but Billy Adkins came in on a 1st and 10. So you don't know what he's going to do, although they did throw it down the field. Incomplete in that case. But they were going back and forth, and they did have a 1st and goal, and they brought in J.C. Evans. They're going to run the football, does a little freeze option, kind of sneaks towards the line, takes a step back, and hits Kai right in the end zone to tie the game up 14-all. And then it turned into a pretty good football game. James Madison ends up with a 17-14 lead on again, I'm not sure how to say his name, No Rulas field goal, 17-14. And then what was being stressed throughout the broadcast is JMU leads the nation in turnover margin, and that continued to be the case in this ball game as well, right? They got 3 turnovers. Western Kentucky had 3 turnovers in this ball game, all fumbles, and JMU did not turn the ball over, right? There was no interceptions or fumbles from JMU. Surprising that it's only a 10-point game when you turn the ball over 3 different times. And so a lot of teamwork between J.C. Evans and Billy Adkins. Billy Adkins finishes up pretty impressively, actually, right? 16 out of 23, 181 yards and a touchdown. J.C. Evans only throws that one pass for a touchdown. Mic drop, calling it a career. Has a rating, who knows what this means, 438.4. Not going to get any better than that. One pass, one completion, 1 yard for the touchdown. He also ran it 10 times for 64 yards. Billy Adkins not really running it, 2 attempts for 6 yards. George Pettaway ran it pretty well. 14 carries, 100 yards. Outstanding. 7 yards a pop. Wayne Knight was outstanding. Although he didn't carry it all that much. He carried it 11 times, but only 22 yards. He did have 4 catches for 25 yards. Omarion Dollison had 6 catches for 82 yards. And Taylor Thompson caught the Billy Adkins touchdown, a 21-yard reception. And I think one of the points I need to make is they were talking, not only did they get good teamwork from the offense, but they got outstanding teamwork from the defense. Khairi Manns and Eric O'Neill, the 2 defensive ends, were fantastic. Let's see here. They combined for 2.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks between the 2 of them. And they had a grand total of 7 tackles between them. And Eric O'Neill, this is JMU's first bowl victory as a school. And there's some others, Louisiana, I'm looking at you, that kind of take it for granted, right? We are in the midst of a golden age for Raging Cajuns football, and they take bowl victories for granted. I don't know what's going to happen in this one because we're not sure if Ben Wooldridge is going to play, and it's going to be tough for true freshmen to pull out a victory in this case against TCU. But they kept on going back to the New Orleans Bowl, and maybe sometimes we need to realize going to a bowl game is pretty cool. Excuse me. And we do not appreciate that as much as we should, and always looking for better. My Orange are going out to the Holiday Bowl. That's across the country. It's going to be really expensive. Obviously, a few days in San Diego is much better than a few days in Syracuse, but it is a little pricey. So we'll see what happens with that and how many people are going. But the idea is that these guys were really emotional, and this will forever be known as the first team to win a bowl game for JMU. On probation the last couple of years. They probably could have been Sun Belt champions the last couple of years, but now they are the 2024 Boca Bowl champions, and they certainly deserve it. Made some pretty good adjustments. Eric O'Neill even mentioned maybe it was a little bit toasty. Maybe it was a little hot and humid. We had to get used to that. And once we adjusted to that, we just went out of that. Ball camp played actually pretty good until the pressure got to him. Banged his arm pretty good against his teammate's helmet. Full speed to look like a helmet, but obviously slow it down. And his arm was going forward. That's how he lost the ball, banging his arm against the helmet. But congratulations to JMU. That's a big-time win. We hope all the best for Alonzo Barnett, the third. Really tough break on the last play of the game against Marshall to go down and getting surgery. And now you got to rehab all offseason. That's such a pain in the backside to have to do that when you want to take your game to the next level. What can I do to improve on? What did I do well? And what do I need to improve on? How do I get better at what I was doing well? And how do I tweak what do I need to improve on? Now he just has to get better physically to be ready for September. Hopefully that is the case. He had knee surgery. He's got 9+ months to get, or 8+ months to get ready, about 8.5. So we'll see if that is, if he's ready to go by the time the end of July is here for camp. So that's actually about 7.5 months to be ready, depending on how serious that knee surgery was. So congratulations to JMU for getting that first ever bowl victory in school history. All right, let's take a time out. We'll preview the New Orleans Bowl. Cajuns are not in it. Georgia Southern coming from the east. Sam Houston State coming from the west. All right, we will do that when we come back right after I tell you about college football on a TNT. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all of the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then, the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, so Sunbelt, by the way, 2-0 in the bowl games, right? South Alabama with a victory, and now JMU with a victory, and now Georgia Southern trying to make it 3-0. I will say it was appreciative. I got in late Tuesday night, and the game was at 5:30, although it didn't seem to end until after 9 o'clock. This game is starting, I believe, at 7 o'clock Eastern time, so it may take a minute, or we may have to recap it at another time. It is what it is. We do have to get up early for work. Let's see what time it is. It is 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is on ESPN2, 6 p.m. Central time, live from New Orleans. All right. Line is Georgia Southern by 4.5. All right. So the Sam Houston coach is off taking the Temple job, and a bunch of the Sam Houston guys. Sam Houston comes in 9-3, only their second year in FBS. And Georgia Southern 8-4. Not even going to start why they are in a bowl game and whatever. I'm not going to start that. But nonetheless, here they are. And, or maybe it's their, no, I'm not even going to start it. All right. So, and Georgia Southern is 8-4. A lot of guys listed in the portal, but like maybe WKU, they were playing. I don't know who was playing and who was not playing, right? The quarterback for WKU is in the portal, but he was playing. Bob Chesney took the other route, saying, if you're in the portal, you're gone. We did have a couple of people comment on less than a handful of guys that are in the portal for JMU. You're not welcome to play in the bowl game. All right. But in this case, Georgia Southern also doesn't have a lot of guys in the portal. Sam Houston State has a ton of guys in the portal. Are they going to play? We don't know. A lot of their running backs are in the portal. A lot of their defensive guys are in the portal, and their top guys are trying to cash in. Let's try to tell you, let's not beat around the bush. They're coming off a great season. These guys may be apparently very talented, and they're going to try and getting while the getting is good. We've mentioned the guys in the portal, in the Sun Belt, and more guys are going in. A redshirt freshman defensive end for South Alabama is now in the portal. That may have to do more with South Alabama was in a bowl game last weekend. So they're going to, now South Alabama's guys are going to go into the portal. Whereas before they were going to wait a minute or two. Whereas Georgia Southern doesn't have a lot of guys in the portal. And we'll see what's going to happen here. Georgia Southern had a heck of a season. They had a bad loss against Troy. That was their bad loss. They had incredible wins against Marshall, had no business winning that ball game. They had an incredible win against South Alabama, had no business winning that ball game. Their bad loss was to Troy, or else they could have been playing for the Sun Belt Championship against the Cajuns in Lafayette. So Clay Helton going to another bowl game has done a pretty good job with Georgia Southern. Here's the problem. Like everybody, almost everybody else in the East, Georgia Southern plays for championships. That was what they were when they were FCS. Right. Back in the day, they're playing for championships with the original Adrian Peterson. All right. But so does everybody else. App State does that. I think James Madison does that. Marshall does that. So all these guys do that. ODU was really good when they first started in FCS. Everybody can't win at the same time. That's the problem. This was Marshall's year. All right. We'll see if J.C. French can be a little bit better next year. All right. It's going to be his job, right? No Dexter Williams. Got to find another backup quarterback. But it's going to be J.C. French's year. And this is a good starting point. You had a couple of weeks of practice to get ready for this one, right? You didn't have to get ready for a Sun Belt Championship game. You got finals in, and you got that extra week to get going. And so let's see if they sprinkle a little wrinkle in there. Chance to do that. Usually you see something different that you don't see in the regular season. You want to show something that you didn't show during the regular season. So we'll see if there's any trick plays. We saw a couple of trick plays that did not go well, mostly for either team, right? In the JMU, WKU, they tried a backwards pass that they looked like they were going to pass it again, and it turned into a fumble for WKU because the wide receiver dropped it and then couldn't fall on it, although it looked like he knew it was a fumble. He was off balance, and by the time he tried to jump on it, someone else had already jumped on it. And I think on the next play, JMU was going to try the same thing, and the wide receiver said it's covered, looked to throw it back to the quarterback, and he's like, that's a bad idea, and ran for a first down, which was very smart. So we'll see if Clay Helton has anything up his bag of tricks. I think the great defense of Georgia Southern is playing. So we're going to look for that. It's only 4.5. I'm taking Georgia Southern in this one. All right. We took JMU, right? And they covered. So we're 1-0. We're not taking credit for South Alabama. When Gio Lopez didn't play, I said I'm not betting on that one. We will take Georgia Southern in this one, and we will take, we'll give the 4.5. Again, we don't really know who's playing and who's not playing for Sam Houston, but I believe they're looking for their first bowl victory as well, and should be a good time. All right, I saw a pep rally, if you will, or a gathering of Georgia Southern fans at Manning's in New Orleans. It doesn't take a whole lot of coercing to get people to go have a good time in New Orleans. It really doesn't. It's much more fun when it's on a weekend, but apparently a lot of people have some free time doing it on a Wednesday and then a Thursday night. And you're going to spend Thursday night there because why would you leave New Orleans on a Thursday night when you're just going to drive back on a Friday anyway? So everybody have a good time, have a safe time. All right. New Orleans is a fun city, but make sure you are safe and have a good time. I'm picking Georgia Southern in this one, and I think the Sun Belt goes 3-0. All right, let's take a timeout. I actually got a good explanation because nobody has ever gave me a good explanation. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of one explanation of what I got, what happened with the Cajuns. Makes no sense, but I'll give you one that was a good explanation, and we'll check in on the Sun Belt tip-off. The Sun Belt basketball season is officially tipping off on last night, Wednesday night, the Cajuns hosting App State. And I don't know what got into the Cajuns, at least in the first half. We will do that after I tell you about FanDuel and Prize Picks. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I will say quickly, I was looking to take App State. They were actually favored by -1.5. I did not. I may have gotten a little bit lucky. We'll see how that turns out. All right. Now, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million members and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Sunbelt basketball tipped off Wednesday night. Cajuns hosting App State. App State came in 6-4. Cajuns were 2-9, technically 1-9 because the UT Dallas game doesn't count in the net. And the Cajuns have not looked very good at all this year. They did beat Southeastern, but not by very much. And I need to check on that. Hold on a second. I need to check on that. They did get hammered by Lamar. So I think they did beat Southeastern, but they got hammered by Lamar, embarrassed by Lamar, and they got McNeese and Will Wade coming in on a Sunday. And so I posed the question, what happened to the Cajuns? Because the bottom fell out fast, and I don't have a good explanation. And I don't really buy this explanation. This does not make any sense. Cajuns won a Sunbelt Conference championship, and they went to the tournament. They lost to Tennessee. School gave Bob Marlin an extension because that's what happens when you do that. Everybody does that, all right? Well, he lost the player of the year, Jordan Brown. Well, not the player of the year. He was the Sunbelt MVP. I don't know if he was a player there, but they lost Jordan Brown. He transferred to Memphis. It really didn't work out for him at Memphis. He should have stayed with the Cajuns, but that's neither here nor there. And the fans apparently didn't want Bob Marlin to be extended, and obviously they blame him for Memphis paying Jordan Brown. All right, team wasn't quite as good as they should have been last year, but the fans had already bailed. So I'm not buying that explanation. This is one I'll buy. The administration tried to cash in. They jacked up the prices a lot for the tickets, front row, according to a comment. You can see it in YouTube. That's a much better explanation, and that has happened a lot. Well, since Brian Maggard has come in here, right? He comes from a Power 5, now Power 4 background in Missouri, and I'll give you a quick explanation. And you got to pay for some of this somehow, right? And now places like Alabama are telling you got to step it up and pay for the players. Yeah. But Cajuns used to not have to pay for parking. Fans were free parking. All right. Campers you had to pay for if you're going to tailgate, but parking was free, I believe. All right. And then they all of a sudden went to $25. The problem was by the time Brian Maggard and company got to town, the demand for football tickets was down. They weren't drawing 25 to 28,000. They're now drawing, 15,000 if you're lucky. And then they started charging for parking and started charging an enormous amount for tailgating. And I've had more than one person say they went to the Alabama game, first year of Billy Napier, and they're like, well, they're charging $25 to walk 2 miles. We're just charging $25 in the parking lot. Well, first of all, you're not Alabama. Alabama has multiple national championships, and they have 100,000 people in their stadium. You got 15,000 in your stadium. Don't make it more difficult. And so now when you tell me that you jacked up the ticket prices for the really, really good seats, that's a problem. All right. And so that makes much more sense. All right. The comment is, I believe it is in YouTube. It may be in that short that I made because I just didn't understand what happened. Jacking up the prices is a great explanation. All right. Having said all that, the Cajuns were hosting App State, and they got out to a ridiculous lead, 18-point lead, 23-5. It was, we'll find out. I'll check it out. Let's see what the score is now. All right. It's 55-41. So South Alabama. The Cajuns still lead App State by 14 points, 7.5 minutes to go. It took, we'll go back to the play-by-play of the first half. It took, we'll tell you when App State got to double digits. App State got to double digits with 4:42 left in the first half. By far, the best game defensively that the Cajuns have played. Still can't score a lick. They still can't score a lick. Their leading scorer, I can't pronounce his name. I will not try because I'm going to embarrass myself. But the Cajuns' leading scorer averages 10 points a game. In fact, less than 11 points a game. Tonight, he has 12 points a game. He's 4 for 10 from the floor. Does not shoot threes. It's a 6'6" guard. Doesn't shoot threes at all. I'm not talking about doesn't make them. Doesn't shoot them. 4 or 5 from the free throw line. Cajuns actually have 3 players in double figures tonight. So they're scoring a little bit more than normal, but not really. They score about 66 points. They don't score a lot of points, but I find it very interesting. App State laid an egg tonight. That's for sure. At the same time, you got to give credit to the Cajuns jumping out to a big lead. And I'm not sure if App State has been, well, now it's 13, 56-43 with 7 minutes left to go. As close as App State has been. They actually led the game 2-0. But I think the Cajuns have basically been in control, although, on our stat broadcast page, they have not had a field goal in the last 4.5 minutes, and they're 0 for their last 4. So they are slowing down a little bit offensively. They're shooting just 44%, but they're holding App State to 38% shooting, and App State just 1 for 11 from threes. The Cajuns actually shooting the lights out from threes, 8 out of 22 from 3. So they don't usually shoot that well at all. But obviously, App can't throw it into the ocean. So you'll see a final. I may sneeze. Excuse me. You'll see a final tomorrow. But it appears, still 6 minutes left to go, that the Cajuns are going to get their first Sun Belt win in the first game of the Sun Belt season. All right, we do have a little dinner party tomorrow, so we'll see when we do recap the Georgia Southern ball game. We may do a bonus episode for Saturday instead of Friday. We'll see when we get to it, when we get done with the dinner party, kind of a housewarming party. We'll see how long we're there for. Of course, I still want to thank you. We're up to 1,810 in 7 to 18 days. Yesterday was the 18th. In 18 days, we have almost 150 subscribers in the month of December. That just blows me away. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We had another, record-setting day. We're going to set another record for views in the month of December. We will keep recapping and, of course, try to keep track of the transfer portal as much as we can. Still going to try and get those coaches. I really have not heard back. We'll see if we can get them in between the holidays. They may have a little bit of downtime in between the holidays, between Christmas and New Year's. They're probably all going to be moving is the downtime. And they're going to be using that to move. So maybe I could get them in the downtime. Obviously, I guess the schools are closed, but there may be basketball games. So I don't know what the total schedule is. during that week. All right. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great Thursday. Once again, congratulations to the JMU Dukes for winning their first bowl game in school history, a 27-17 victory over the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Thanks again for watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Thursday, everybody, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.